economic downturn. It's the White House hyping the war on police. And whether you're for the police or against them, they're hyping a federal war on police, in their own words, to federalize them, in the words of Al Sharpton. And now, black Democrat sheriff, Obama fueling racial division for federal takeover of police. Obama started this year his war on police intentionally, right in line with his community agitating, he tweeted. And that, of course, is the sheriff we've had on repeatedly, David A. Clarke of Milwaukee. No surrender there. Now, if it's a black flag with a skull, it means no surrender, no quarter, we're going to kill you. But there's no skull on this. There's just George Washington. And I know how much both of you men, both patriots, love George Washington. So they've been gracious enough to come down from North Texas to be here in the capital of socialism in Texas, Austin. And so Mike Norris and Gary Haven coming up in the second hour today with a lot of Jade Helm analysis, their take on how great the governor is. I know they both know him. And of course, Gary really knows him well. And they told me a lot of really interesting stuff a few months ago, 2.5, 3 months ago, when I was up there shooting a movie with them. I was honored to be part of that. So that is all coming up today. And he doesn't get sick of talking about it. I wouldn't either if my dad was Chuck Norris. I love telling stories about my dad regardless. You want to hear amazing Chuck Norris stories that no one has ever heard. I mean, because I Googled some of these after he told me these stories. They're not out there, a bunch of them. So this is the stuff that legends are made of. And, of course, the biggest legend around is got to be Chuck Norris globally. Chuck Norris. So we're going to talk about that, some of the films that Mike has made, and this new film that's coming out. And then when the film actually comes out, I guess in the winter or maybe next year, I'm not sure of the times yet, we're going to certainly be promoting it here because, strangely enough, it's a film centering around the invasion of Texas, basically, by a force. I mean, hope I'm not giving away too much right now. Hope I'm not... Gary, can I get a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Should I shut up? Oh, thumbs up. Okay. He's doing a thumbs up in there, folks. I'm allowed to say it. He'll talk about the upcoming film some when he comes in, so I'm very excited. Again, I don't usually get giddy about Hollywood stuff, but you know, these folks aren't from Hollywood, they're from Texas. And you got an entrepreneur who started the fastest growing franchise globally ever, Curves, you know, billions. And then, of course, the entrepreneur sold it, and all these other businesses. And then you've got Mike Norris, who, on top of it, learned how to ride a motorcycle from Steve McQueen. So it just goes on and on and on. So true lore that would only normally be released in some type of 4-level revelry. You will be learning all of that coming up here today. Anyways, they're really fun guys to hang out with. And I tell you, Gary, I put him over there, gave me an entire bag of some of the best cigars I've ever had. So he's also a bad influence, ladies and gentlemen. So, all right, I'm going to stop right there. This is a short segment. So much good news, so many things to talk about. We're going to have Anthony Gucciardi in here for about 10 minutes at the start of the news segment with some very important health news. Monsanto has been downgraded to a risky, bad investment by a major rating agency as it comes out in major human studies in Europe that it is linked directly to cancer. Gee, it is in rats and other rodents like guinea pigs. Who would have thought weed killer might be bad for you? My gosh, what are these conspiracy theorists going to talk about next? And then if you expand on that, the feds just came out and said lower from 1.5 parts per million fluoride to 6 or 7 parts per million because it is causing bone cancer and other problems. And they said ban it in pesticides because it bioaccumulates. And so if you think 1 part per million is bad, they've got 300 parts per million in the leading powdered egg brand of fluoride. I mean, you want an IQ reducer, you want to get a chemical lobotomy, baby, this is the way to do it. And the only reason I throw that out is good things are happening. We're proving fluoride's deadly poison, that weed killer is deadly poison. Gee, that's, again, hard to prove, isn't it? It's just prima facie. Wow, honeybees eat it and die. Wow, might be bad for us. Gee, if that kills bugs, do I want to eat it? Oh, by the way, Chuck Norris, writing for WorldNet Daily, Transcending Left-Right Paradigm, has come out and criticized GMO. You see, it's happening. The people are coming together. It isn't about being liberal or conservative. It's about being pro-life, not wanting to kill babies. And now, as I mentioned earlier, Mexico has banned a major vaccine in the country because it's killing people and maiming them. We're going to be covering that. And it's sad people are being killed, but it's good news that at least there and in India and in Japan and in Italy, when the kids, wow, we gave 1,000 kids the shot and a bunch of them got sick and some died, we might not want to give this again. And they had their medical doctors go in and look at what happened to them. And lo and behold, it caused brain inflammation. Just exactly what all the medical doctors have been saying here. So we're on the march. The empire is on the run. I'm Alex Jones coming to you live from deep in the heart of Texas, Austin. Rightfully saying, you know something? If you are going to ban free speech because ISIS might attack conservatives for their speech, then you need to ban all the liberals promoting gay, 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 gay. That makes ISIS mad too. And so I had up RushLimbaugh.com, was reading that article, and my son goes, "You look like Rush Limbaugh." I guess with my hair comb back. And I'm up against him in the same time slot, not by design. This is where I was put 18 years ago by the network. But I am now officially degenerating into it. Because now I'm smoking cigars on the radio. They were back there in my office firing up. And so I thought, you know what? We're talking health news. Why not fire up a stogie? Because that's what it's all about here at Infowars.com. Seriously. I just wanted to violate the City of Austin ordinance against indoor smoking. Anthony, do you wish to lodge a complaint against me for this?
You know, I think you're a bad person. And I think it's bad for you to highlight the fact that we can actually have fun and smoke cigars while still being healthy and still fighting for things like Monsanto losing their credit score now to negative, losing money every single month.
We're celebrating that.
Yeah, exactly.
We're celebrating Chuck Norris.
We are. We're celebrating the American spirit right now.
Excuse me, please continue.
Well, I think it's amazing to think about all the victories we've had. And you were talking about Monsanto being downgraded by one of the Moody's, one of the largest investor credit agencies. And it goes beyond that because of all the junk we're getting out of the food supply. And I think it's worthy of a cigar. I think it's a victory cigar, especially when you're on air. And I think what it is, it's a talk radio syndrome is what you're experiencing. Slowly, instead of looking like Rush Limbaugh, you're just
I've only been doing this 20 years, though.
Only
I'm starting to experience Rush Limbaugh syndrome.
Maybe it's just starting to hit you now. It's starting to catch up to you.
You know, I thought I needed to take golf back up. I haven't played since I was in high school. But only because I'm going to go insane if I don't do something fun.
No, yeah.
So I've been going skeet shooting. What's that called? Clay shooting, where it's like a golf course, and they move them around each week. And I think it's like Hill Country Skeet. Man, that place is awesome, bro. We got to go up there.
Should. Well, I think, you know, when you tell people laugh. I've heard people laugh and you say, you know, I work 16, 18 hours a day. And they're like, oh, yeah, right. It's actually true. I've seen you do it.
Well, I used to. I got to be honest. The news has gotten so heavy. Stuff is so hardcore that if I don't have some brevity and have a good time, I'm going to go nuts. I mean, I've already gone insane, but
it's hard to exit out of it because of how much it's infiltrated our daily lives. I mean, you can't even sit down and turn on Netflix or something without being hit by all of it. Look at that. It's a picture of you right there.
It's kind of uncanny. It's ridiculous. Oh, boy. That's not really a good thing, except he's lost so much weight. He looks pretty good.
He has lost a lot of weight. He looks younger. He looks 20 years younger than he used to.
Yeah. All right, Anthony, I want to get serious because there's so much hardcore news. Let's go back to this Monsanto news and tie it into TPP. We know that this basically bans people even labeling globally. That's coming out. It restricts free speech. The Republican leadership's helping Obama get it through against the Tea Party and against liberals, who, again, should be working together against this and are. That's the headline on DrudgeReport.com. Republicans move to rescue Obama trade. By the way, I'm not a huge cigar guy because they're usually not that good. This is one of the most exclusive cigars you can get. So exclusive, it's private labeled. And I can't even say where it came from.
I think we can take a guess.
You think you can?
I think so. But ultimately, I mean, look at the TPP. The Republicans are standing for this, and some of the Democrats too. It's an ultimate attack on all of us just because Vermont is passing mandatory GMO labeling. They're freaking out because they know that they're backed by the biotech giants. Monsanto's losing money and failing and trying to swallow up Syngenta, which is another biotech company. Because of that, Moody's and other investors know that they're failing and they're downgrading them. So they're losing over and over again. TPP is their attack on us because they can't sustain themselves. It's ultimately them saying, okay, we lose. Now we're going to pass legislation that just bans GMO labeling completely. You'll never actually get what you want because we can't do it legally. We can't do it rightfully. So it's really another victory. I mean, what
do you make of Mexico? And I'm going to read this article now. That's why I wanted to get you in here today, because you've been writing some of these articles at Infowars.com. This one is Adon Salazar wrote this story, but he links through to the main Mexican state-run media systems. Health officials in Mexico moved to suspend infant vaccines over the weekend following reports that routine inoculations killed 2 babies and left 29 others suffering terrible adverse effects. On Friday, infants in the destitute village of Simojaval, Chiapas, began experiencing serious side effects resulting from administration of tuberculosis and hepatitis V vaccines. Symptoms reportedly included fever, drowsiness, seizures, and intense headaches. Gee, exactly what happens here. 6 of the 29 infants sickened are said to be in critical condition. That's one village. See, imagine it's all over the country. It's always much worse. CNN Mexico reports that the parents of 2 children who died were so upset they did not grant the state permission to conduct autopsies. The 2 families buried their children Sunday in coffins provided by the state authorities. Mexican officials, health authorities, have now announced the findings of their investigation, but say they've been able to identify the suspected batch of vaccine and are looking into whether contaminated needles may have played a role. No. You get stung by a bee, maybe 1 out of a couple hundred people. If you don't have an EpiPen, you die. And the same thing happens. Your brain swells, your throat swells. Different vaccines are different stuff. They gave smallpox shots at the start of the Iraq War to the troops and to the media. And out of a press corps of several hundred that were embedded, was it 4 or 5 died? Some of them only 30-something years old. Remember that? From heart attacks. Because it caused an autoimmune response in the ventricles. I'm no doctor. I'm going off what they said in the news. The experimental anthrax shots in 2001, and then again in 2004 they tried it. It was the military's own doctors actually, they called it mutiny. They were court-martialing them for refusing to give it. They finally won because Congress went, wait a minute, this is an experimental vaccine. You can't even make troops take that. You can make troops take an approved vaccine. You cannot make them under federal law. They have rights. Take that. So they reinstated all these doctors. It first started the mutiny in Denver at the Air Force Base there. They were like, people are dying. You can pull that up in the Denver Post from the time. So all we're doing is exposing what's admitted. And as a response, we're demonized. Just like we have hundreds of mainstream news articles where they're going, isn't it good? The military's preparing and being trained to take on the patriots and the veterans. And then where do we learn about it? From the military, who's upset. They spin it and go, Alex doesn't like our military. He claims they're training for a takeover next week. No, I didn't. I said they're training for an incremental takeover. And so they're all over the news globally. Financial Times of London, London Guardian, Der Spiegel, New York Times. Why does Chuck Norris, the icon, we thought he loved the military. Now he says that the military is, planning a Texas takeover this summer. No, he didn't say that. He wrote an editorial and said this is part of a process. And he supports the military but doesn't trust the executive branch, as President Eisenhower said. Only thing wrong, and maybe I missed it with Chuck Norris's article, is he didn't have, he's got a couple presidents quoted in there, Thomas Jefferson and people, but we need to get that quote in the councils of government. We must guard against the undue influence of the military-industrial complex, whether sought or unsought. In fact, let's pull that quote up. We can actually pull the video up. Am I bad for quoting him? The Views attacked us. The Fives attacked us. CBS News, ABC News, This Week, all of them. All of them. All of them that I know of are attacking, misrepresenting. They put me on TV with a tinfoil hat on my head and say, Jones says there's an imminent takeover and that the military is going to put us in Walmarts. I never said that. Other people wondered why Walmarts were being shut down. We said it's a labor dispute. That later came out. We debunked the Walmart story. But does it matter to them, Anthony?
No, a 4-year-old could listen to your show and understand that's not what you're saying. It's cherry picking. That's why all those attack websites, all they do is take little quotes. And it's so easy because you can read it and you can go read the comments. And most people understand all they're doing is cherry picking your quotes and attacking you and using still photos of you from a 5-hour show, picking the worst still photo from the 5 hours when you make a funny face. It's a joke. And it reminds me, going back to the vaccine issue, most other countries